This is cs952, Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and we're going to create a frequently asked questions page. If you want to do some extra credit for the class, this is one thing that you could do. Create a new page, and we're going to learn a lot about anchors. We're going to be linking from the question to the answer, and we're also going to be doing some interesting CSS styling and going to use some outside web resources to create a textured background. Well, there's a lot of material to cover here. So first things first, we do not currently have an FAQ page in our website. So we're going to need to create a new page. And just like we did when we created our contact page, we're going to need to go to Dreamweaver, go to File, go to New, and we're going to create a new page from our site template, right? So this is our site template. Our site is Pencil. This is our template. We only have one template, and I'm going to click Create. And I'm going to rename this to Pencil-FAQ so we remember what it is. And then I'm just going to hit Save to save this. And we're going to call it FAQ. That's really all we need. And now here we have our FAQ file over here in our Files menu. I'm going to switch to Code View. And in Code View, of course, we need to remove our placeholder content that says main content. So I'm going to click on my instance editable and just hit the delete key. That's going to remove that. I'll hit enter a couple times to add myself some space. And then we want to grab that snippet of code that we use to help us get started with a page. So I'm going to go under my window and I'm going to choose snippets. And let's open up our snippets window a little bit more so we can see what we're doing. And this is our snippet is under our Bootstrap snippets, and if we scroll down, right there it is. It's starting code, and I'm going to click on the Insert button, and now we've inserted the code in that we need. Let's close our snippets window, and I'm going to double click on the word Gallery because this is not a gallery page. It's FAQ space FREQUENTLY frequently ASKED asked space QUESTIONS frequently asked questions. Okay, so now let's switch to Live View. We're in Code View. Let's go over here. Let's switch to Live View. And I've got my H2 selected. Frequently asked questions. And now we're going to add a div. So I'm going to go under Insert, and I'm just going to add a div. And we're going to put it after our H2. Since we've got this div in place with our placeholder content, let's go ahead and create a selector for this div. This div is going to hold all of our questions. So I want to create a new CSS selector to target this div to do styling changes to it. So I'm going to go under my CSS designer, and as always, I'm selecting styles because that's where we are storing all the styles unique to this site. Global, it's going to be a global rule, and let's add a new selector. And this is what we're going to call our selector. I'm going to call my selector # so we know it's an ID, FAQ, frequently asked questions, and then I'm going to type in question, QUESTION. So my div is going to be assigned to an ID of FAQ question. Alrighty. Now as long as we're here, let's go ahead and create one more selector. I'm going to add a new selector. And this selector we're going to call period, which tells us right away that this is going to be a class. We're going to use this multiple times. FAQ, and then I'm going to type in answer, ANSWER. So we're going to have each answer in its own div, and it's going to be repeated several times, so it needs to be a class because we're going to use these styling rules for our answers over and over again. Great. So let's click on this div that we added. I'm clicking on it in the status bar, and I'm going to go ahead and assign it to that ID that we just created. So if we look over here under div ID, We have several div IDs to select from now. I'm going to slide Dreamweaver up a little bit because you may not be able to see this because of where the video is cutting off. But we have all media. That was an ID that we created for our video page. The audio player, of course, that was, all media, that was created for our media page. Audio player, that was for the audio player. We have frequently asked question, that's the one that we just created. We have one that's been generated by FancyBox. Icons, photo gallery, video player. So I'm going to click on FAQ question because that's what we're getting started with, right? So now our div, we can see over here, it's a member of the FAQ question. Now let's add another div after this existing div. Okay, let's add another div, and it's where we're going to put our first answer. So again, we're going to go under Insert, and I'm going to choose Div, and we're going to put it after. And we want to assign this div that we just inserted. Let me click on it. Right, this div, we can see, if we're not sure of where we are in the structure of our web page, we can see our H2, frequently asked questions. We have our first div that's going to be holding all the questions, and then this div is going to be holding at least the first answer. So I'm going to click over here into Class and Property Inspector, and I'm going to scroll down till I find FAQ answer. Right? It's going to have to. Fortunately, we've got all these FAs and fancy boxes, but right there it is, FAQ answer. That's the div that that's the class that we created. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Save All. And let's switch to Code View and see what we've got. So we can see our H2, our headline. We have our div that holds our questions, and at least a div that's going to hold our first answer. I would like to copy this div 2 more times because I'm going to have a total of 3 questions. I'm going to have 3 answers. So I've already got this div selected. I can just right click and choose Copy. And let's drop down to my next line and hit Paste. And I'm going to hit Enter again and hit Paste. I'll hit Refresh. Save All. So now we can see why we used a class for FAQ answer, because right here we've used the same content 3 times. Now we want to add in our questions and our answers. So when we're adding in content, let's do that in Design View. You may have your own questions and answers. I've got some prepared already just to help move things along. So I'm going to switch over here to Design View. There we go. And if we go to our Files panel, and if we look in our tutorial folder, and if we scroll down and look in the text.files.txt file, so I'm going to double click on this file. It opens up. I'm going to scroll down. And this is my first question. When was the pencil invented? So I'm going to highlight that. Let's get started with adding our questions and our answers. We'll tackle that at the beginning of the next video.